Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of November 30th, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here, and a very happy December to everybody out there. Early in the week, one of the first things that's happening this week is Mercury speaking with Neptune. Now, this is a conversation of tension, and it's kind of like, I gotta say, it's kind of like the way we understand a Mercury retrograde, but throw in confusion and delusion and messages being interpreted in a way that maybe they weren't necessarily intended. And so this is something that, of course, we have to be mindful of, and this is something I know I talk about from time to time in the videos as well. This whole idea, and it's actually been written about, I do remember as an undergrad many years ago, actually reading some philosophical texts along these lines that talk about how we as the reader are interpreting and interacting with any given text, whether that's something, a text message, whether that's a Facebook post. We are bringing ourselves and all of our experiences to that moment of interpretation. And so even though it's written and even though it may seem explicit, at the same time, there is an element there. It's just like looking at a work of art at times as well. It's that who you are is evoked in the process of interpretation. And so with this type of conversation, it is possible, as I said, for something to have one intention but be taken a whole other way. So just keep that in mind as you are interpreting whatever it is that you are, whether you're online and looking at just posts or something on the internet, or whether it is actually a message directed directly at you. And also keep in mind that people, when they communicate and what they are sharing very often does not have anything to do with you. Really, it does not. And so it is also about them and how they have learned to express themselves and all the experiences and all the moments that have made them who they are in that moment and how they are expressing themselves then. And so you don't know what somebody else may be carrying, what someone else's real motivation might be as well. Of course, you want to trust yourself, you want to feel it out, but at the same time, keep in mind that there's lots of space here for misinterpretation. There's another way that this can also play out. I have to say, I look at this and a couple of different things, because we have Mercury in Sagittarius, and I look at this with Neptune in Pisces, I think to myself that this is, this could be a message of faith, or a message that is meant to be whether religious or spiritual or political as well, sort of being interpreted in a way that maybe it was not meant to be interpreted. And so we may see an example of that on the collective level for all of us. The other thing with this is, I would say, just on a very immediate practical level, make sure, like if you go out shopping early in the week, that your items are scanning correctly. So that's one element of this as well, that maybe you go and the scan itself might not be right because of Mercury's connection to commerce as well. What we also have happening early in the week is Mars speaking in harmony with Saturn. So I really like this because it does suggest to me that whatever action we take, especially whatever happens with Mercury, whatever action we do decide to take, however it inspires us, ultimately we're taking a measured perspective. So I find that really encouraging. We're able to sort of take that step back and say, okay, what could this mean? What actually is happening here? What layers are taking place here? And be able to bring that element of foresight and maturity to any given situation. But what I also like about this conversation is, ultimately to me, this conversation says, do the right thing. That's what it comes down to. And for students of astrology out there, Mars and Saturn currently are in what's called mutual reception. And so Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, where Saturn is right now. Saturn is the ruling planet of Capricorn, where Mars is right now. So they have sort of a natural affinity, and the fact that they're speaking to each other as well does suggest an added level of harmony and understanding what it is that we need to do, what needs to be done, how to move things positively forward, but more than that, stabilizingly forward. So when I look at this, it does look like whatever communication might find us or whatever occurrences happen, it's very unlikely that we're going to be walking around losing our heads or losing our patience. Patience is always a virtue. I absolutely love this. This is one of my sacred lessons at the moment as well. And I do think that for all of us with Mars in the very last moments of the respective sign it's traveling in, that tends to be a time for all of us when we're asked to be more patient as well. And so I would say, as I look at this, that we're able to summon that quite nicely and quite thankfully as well. Mercury will also later in the week, what I really like is, even though Mercury at the beginning of the week is having this somewhat tough conversation, or at least a conversation that might be tough if you could just put your finger on it, by the time we move progressively into the week, Mercury will speak in supreme harmony with Uranus. I absolutely love this. I just love this because this says to me, right conversation, right time, running into the right person, and just getting the right idea, the right brainstorm. And so this is a great time for setting the record straight, that's for sure. But this is also a really great time for fresh perspectives, whether you want to contain them in terms of like a brainstorm, somewhere where you've been wanting to and thought that maybe, how could I be looking at this differently? This is a time to do that, and the universe certainly is providing lots of cosmic support. But more than that, I mean, I just think that this is also surprising messages finding us that just have a strong, wonderful resonance, that whether just on the immediate level they delight, or whether they actually bring in a fresh perspective and fresh ideas as well. And what's also happening in the later part of the week that I also really like is that Venus will be speaking in supreme harmony with Jupiter. So this is the romance element amplified while the sun is speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus. So lots of surprises energy, pleasant surprises in words, in action, in motivation as well, in direction as well. But at the same time, we've got this wonderful conversation happening that is very romantic on the one hand. Also, it's a conversation of pleasure, and because this is happening in fire signs, it's a pleasure that sort of comes up out of nowhere. It's like a passionate kind of pleasure. And so, yes, there's a very literal, immediate way to interpret that. But also, you know, I think about this idea of running into the right person and deciding to go and have a dinner that ends up being incredible. Lots of fun, great food, great connections, whether it's in friendship or romantic as well. This is also stumbling upon a surprise sale at one of your favorite places and just finding the most incredible things that you will cherish for a very, very long time to come, especially if you're looking at things that are associated with Venus, like clothing and jewelry and makeup and things like that. This is also and can also be finding like a great person, like a hairdresser or whatever. So where Venus is involved, that energy, that positive energy is amplified, and you throw in the surprise element to this as well. If you're an artist or musician, definitely, as we progress into the week, great time to be creating something that you can really be proud of and feel a certain sense of not only gratitude, but also a certain sense of fulfillment as well. Two other things that I did want to talk about this week, and that is the fact that we have got a full moon taking place. A full moon taking place in the sign of Gemini, speaking in harmony with Uranus, standing across Mercury. Now, this is something I actually focused on for a lot of the December videos as well, which should be posted right around the time that this weekly is posted as well. And so please do have a look at that for more about the particular full moon. But ultimately, I do think that this adds to the element of surprises. There's an emotional investment in this as well. And Mercury playing a part does suggest that conversations are going to be a key part of the good things that come our way as a result of what rises to the surface and to our awareness. Mars is moving into the sign of Aquarius. And wherever Mars goes, our focus changes, our energy changes. What feels most pressing, what needs our attention most changes as well. So all of us will be feeling a shift in energy. Collectively, we should notice an increased focus on things like social movements and humanitarian efforts as well. So this is a really good time if you're involved in a nonprofit to do what you can, especially where it comes to trying to create some sort of campaign that does end up going viral, that does raise awareness into what it is that you're doing. This is a really good time for you to actually think creatively outside of the box this week and put something together that you hope and you feel will actually reach more people, new ways of increasing awareness for what it is that you feel called to give voice to. And all of us, as I said, in some way will be experiencing a shift in energy as well as Mars changes signs and asks us to focus in a new area of life. I love your questions. Please do keep them coming. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com. If you would like me to have a look at your unique birth chart, if you have questions that are a little bit more personal, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that. But I do hope that these videos in some way always provide you with an omen that you can use to bring greater hope and inspiration into your life and to remind you that you are indeed moving towards greater love and greater wisdom as well, which is the motivation to absolutely everything I do. My mission is to affirm that in the world. The universe is wise and loving, and my intention with these videos is to affirm that in your own life as well. So how all the wonderful celestial things happening now are speaking to you in your sign are coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week, your ruling planet Mars will be changing signs. So whenever your ruling planet changes signs and wherever your ruling planet goes, so go you as your representative in the sky. And this is your chance and this is your opportunity to really start learning more about yourself and focusing in on your friendships. Just before you do, though, and just before Mars does change signs, we'll be speaking with Saturn. And to me, I look at this, and this is all about doing the right thing, especially where it comes to your work, with your career. This is all about thinking, what is it going to cost for you to achieve something that really matters to you? And deciding if it's worth it or not. And so there's an element here of being ethical, yes, but there's also an element here of being honest with yourself, of looking at what is required for you to get where you want to get and if it's worth the price. And where it isn't, you will make the change. You will make adjustments. Where it is, you are going to commit even more deeply than you have before. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week we have your ruling planet Venus speaking in harmony with Jupiter. This is so nice for you. It does suggest that the stuff that maybe isn't so easy for a lot of other people won't affect you as much. Instead, you'll be riding this really nice wave of just feeling like things are well. And when you feel that things are well, they very often are. And what's really interesting to me about this particular vibration for you is that it is speaking to, on the one hand, it's speaking to elements of home, of your very foundation. But it's also speaking to money. And it's speaking to especially the type of money that comes from grants, loans, bursaries, insurance payments, commissions, and yes, sales of houses. So if you are in the market to buy or sell, this is a time when things can really come together for you very nicely, sort of out of the blue, to be made an offer that is very difficult to refuse. For others of you, this is going to be stumbling upon the perfect change that you could make to your environment, the environment in which you live, that will allow it to feel like a much more inspiring place to do more of what it is that you desire to do in that place, especially if it involves making money. Hello, fabulous Gemini. Well, at the end of the week, we have a full moon in your sign. I did speak about this at length in your December horoscope, so please do have a look at that, your monthly video. Putting that to one side for a moment and just focusing in on what is happening now, I am just so excited about Mars moving into fellow air sign Aquarius for you, because to me, this suggests that On the one hand, yes, you've got this full moon, lots of emotions, lots of truth, positive changes taking place. And at the same time with Mars, inspiration, really thinking big picture, thinking about your vision for your life, what it is that you want to do, thinking much more expansively than you have before. And I do think that this is going to involve you thinking about what you want to start putting into place so that you can reap even bigger benefits. I also think there's a strong element this week to you starting to think about the fact that we're very close to a new year, and what is it that you really want to get done now as you prepare for a fresh new cycle that all of us sort of on a sort of collective consciousness level, when a new year starts, we have this new beginning that takes place for all of us. Well, what is that going to look like for you? What is that going to feel like for you? And what is it that you actually want to begin again once we get you to that place? Your emotions this week will begin to make that abundantly clear, and the pathway there will look very, very inviting. In fact, I think you'll be feeling really enthusiastic about what's ahead for you this month. Hello, fabulous Cancer. We have got a full moon taking place now. Full moons and new moons, as I've spoken to you before, really speak to the heart of you, because your ruling luminary is the moon. And so when there's lunar phenomenon taking place, your sign is going to feel it more than other signs might. So we've got this full moon taking place in the sign just before yours. Lots is happening under the surface. You may not be ready to share. You may not be thinking so much outwardly just yet, but so much is happening under the surface of what you're thinking about, what you want to do, what you're hoping for, that I do think there is an element here of you needing to be on your own and to honor that and to really respect the impetus that you have now to allow yourself to process things very much on an energetic level. So dream journal, really, really important for you this time. Keep a dream journal, especially as we approach the end of the week, because it is there that some really fresh insights, especially when it comes to your career and what you could be doing and what's changing for you in that regard, is very likely to come up for you. And it does look like all around ends up being really empowering for you as well. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, we've got Venus speaking to Jupiter in your sign. We've got your ruling luminary, the sun, speaking in harmony with Uranus. To me, this says to me that even though there's a little bit of a rough spot in the beginning of the week, I don't think that it's going to affect you nearly as much as it might some other signs, mainly because there's so much that's so good and also feeling so good as well. So there's an element here of your emotions being impacted, being touched on, you thinking much more broadly about yourself and your prospects. But also, I gotta say, there's a very strong sort of romantic element to this week playing out as well. And so I think that this is a great week to get your flirt on, to spend time with somebody that you care about, and to feel the love all around, regardless if you're in a partnership or not. Certainly, I do think that in some way or another, you're going to be realizing that you do have adoring fans, that you do have people who appreciate you as well. And I think that more than anything, or as well, rather, I think that you're about to have a lot of fun in the process of learning about more about yourself in the context of love. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week we've got your ruling planet, Mercury, speaking with Neptune and speaking with Uranus as well. Well, you put these together and it does suggest, on one hand, some really lovely surprises taking for you, which I think that you'll like very much. But on the other hand, moving beyond just the element of nice surprises that show up later in the week, there's also an element here that has to do with relationships. And when I look at the sky for you, I gotta say, this is such an important time for you to be focusing in on something that matters to you. There's a very strong independent energy playing out here, because chances are that any kind of conversation or understanding you try to reach with either a partner, whether it's business or especially romance as well, it is not going to be as clear as you would like, okay? So it does look like the answers you get in some way, either they're not clear, they're not being interpreted right by you, you may be interpreting them in a way that is not intended, in a more negative way than is intended. And so I would say to you that this is a great time for you to put the emphasis on yourself, put the emphasis on who you are, what you want to do, what you're hoping to accomplish in your own life, and what makes you feel good about yourself. And I think if you do that, you're going to find that the energy there that would suggest sort of uncertainty around love really dissipates considerably. And instead, you're focusing on yourself and your own power, and that's going to allow you to make the most of, once we move further into the week, it's just such a lovely environment that finds you. There's so much a sense of expansion, a sense that you're going to be all right. If you're looking for a home, this is a time when you may find the perfect home, and you may find the perfect financing for it as well. And so allow your emotions to be there. They are going to take a moment to sort of find their resolution. But as they do, you're going to find yourself really glad that you focused in on yourself, because that's going to allow you to take much fuller advantage of the changes and the surprise reconnections and surprise feeling at home than you have, more than you have before, that shows up for you this week. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week we have got a full moon taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with vision. It has to do with what are you enthusiastic about? What adventure are you going to take on? What energy are you going to ride? And so this is something very much in focus for you now. I spoke about this at length in the monthly horoscope, but I do also want to talk about specific to this week. What I really like for you is the fact that you have got Uranus in your opposite sign speaking in harmony with the sun and Mercury as well, which just speaks to very lovely romantic developments and surprises for you happening, surprise encounters, just as you're busy going about your day, running your errands, perhaps with a neighbor, perhaps with somebody, if you are open to meeting somebody new, it could be a neighbor, through a sibling or cousin. Won't actually be your sibling or cousin, hopefully, but rather it will be somebody introduced to you through them as well. But overall, it just looks like, as I look at the sky for you, that there is such a feeling for you of expansion, of people being around you who support you, who love you, whether you're running into them sort of like not expecting to, or whether you're actually going to social functions. This week, it's so much, there's such positive energy around the people in your life. They want to show you that they support you, that they adore you as well. And if you just have just a touch of willingness, you're going to find your social calendar very, very full. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have got Saturn making its final moves through your sign. I have the Saturn specials up. Please do have a look at that, because it is going to be such a momentous shift that takes place for you as we end the year. And this is the time for you to be taking full advantage of the benefits that Saturn has been trying to bless your life with. And so Mars speaking in harmony with Saturn in your sign, these two planets in what's called mutual reception, as I spoke about in the introduction to this week, I just think that this is going to be such a great time for you, where a lot is going to feel like it comes together for you now. A lot of things that maybe whether you haven't been able to fully define, or you've been working on, or that you've wanted to sort of implement or bring together, this is a time when some really wonderful moves can take place that allow that to happen. And this is also a really amazing time. I think that for a lot of us out there, there's this energy of, meeting the right person at the right time in the right place. That type of energy is very much in the air for a lot of us in different ways. But for you, it's very much about meeting the right power player, the right person who really can help you to make your life into, if you're an ambitious person, and especially if you're an ambitious person, this is about you meeting a higher up that you could take full advantage of, but having sort of a random connection as well. And I would encourage you, as I look at this, even if it feels really outside of your comfort zone, just strive to sort of interact with people and talk to people, especially as you move around running your errands and your neighbors as well. That is going to create, at the very least, will create some energy. But I do think that for a lot of you out there, it will facilitate a very important understanding of just how much you have achieved and just a little bit more you need to do to feel a sense of feeling truly accomplished. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week we have got your ruling planet, Jupiter, being spoken to in harmony by Venus in your sign. So Venus is in your sign. The Sun and Mercury in your sign speak in supreme harmony with Uranus. So we've got Venus speaking with Jupiter. I don't know if I might have said Uranus by accident. That's very interesting to me. But we've also got a very active Uranus as well, thanks to Mercury and the Sun in your sign as well. Really, the cosmic party is happening in your sign. You add to this a full moon in your opposite sign taking place by the time we get you to the end of the week. There's love and romance on offer, regardless of what your romantic situation is right now. And it feels like you are feeling a sense of possibility in your life as well. And that really is the biggest game changer. When I look at the sky for you this week, there's just so much positive cosmic support for taking your life in any direction you choose. And when I talk about love, yes, if you want romantic love, there's lots of cosmic support to make that happen now. Very much by surprise. It could just sort of seem to come out of the blue. But if it's not romantic love that you're going for, but rather a feeling of doing what you love, then this is a time when you really understand just what that is and what you actually bring when you love what you do. And that makes such an important distinction for you that helps you to recognize where it is that your joy is going to be. And that's going to prepare you really nicely for the brand new cycle that you're starting in just a few weeks' time when Saturn enters your sign, as I spoke about in the Saturn special for your sign as well. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have got Mars in its final stages in your sign before switching signs, speaking in harmony with Saturn. Now, I spoke about this in the introduction, the fact that these two planets are in mutual reception, the fact that these two planets are speaking in harmony. This is such an important moment for you. I think that this is decision time. This is choice time for a lot of you out there, where you are really going to start to understand what it is, what your higher hopes are, who's walking it with you, who isn't. Really understanding the context of your friendships, what they add, what maybe they don't, and coming to a much deeper understanding of what it is that ultimately matters to you most and what you want to really put your energy and your passion behind as well. So there's a very strong element here of you being granted this sort of very powerful moment. On the one hand, decision moment, but on the one hand, to really reach for a dream that matters to you. People are going to figure into this as well. Allow what needs to change to happen, because it does look like you are in the process also being asked to be very honest with yourself. So be honest with yourself. Understand what it is that you want to carry into the future, what you don't. And when the chance comes to make at least one pitch towards something that matters to you, I do think that you're going to give it all that you have, and it's going to work out very nicely. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week we've got so much that is so good for you happening that it just delights me to look at the sky for you in all honesty. Even though it does look like, I will be honest, as I look at the very start of the week, there is a little bit of energy there where you may feel that a friendship is costing you more than you're willing to pay. Some of you out there may have that feeling. And so just don't worry about that. It will pass. If there's any conversation around money you need to have with a friend, just know that it might not be completely clear to you, okay? So pace yourself, walk your path, know that everything might not appear completely clear. This also, if a friend owes you money or you owe somebody money at the very beginning of the week, maybe try to hold off on any kind of money interactions with a friend in particular until we get you a little further in the week. But once we get you further in the week, Uranus, your ruling planet, is speaking in supreme harmony with other power players in the sky, like the Sun and Mercury. And you add to that the fact that we have got Mars moving into your sign. We've got Jupiter in your opposite sign, speaking with Venus. I mean, this to me, I look at the sky for you, and it's all about your mind being lit up, you feeling alive, you feeling like you have fresh energy, fresh insights, fresh motivations to do what you want to do, what matters to you. But there's also a lot of love on offer as well. And so whether you're single or you want to meet somebody new, there's a very romantic energy with you right now. the energy that would allow really great understanding to come about, especially on a mind level. I also think about for you this week, and what I really love about this week for you with Mars moving into your sign as well, is it is an awakening, is the best way to put it. Mars moving through your sign is an awakening. It's an awakening of your passions, of what matters to you, what you want to put your energy to, and that your energy is valuable. And you're going to decide where to direct it. It is the start of a fresh new cycle, a fresh 2-year cycle, really. And so wherever it is that you have wanted to make change happen, this is your chance to acknowledge where you have power and where you don't. And where you do, to give it your all. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week we have got Neptune in your sign at the very beginning of the week, speaking with Mercury. Now, I look at this particular conversation and I have to say that it might not be the best week for asking for a favor from a higher up, or at least at the very beginning of the week, that is. Later in the week, yes, but rather, I do think that if you're pursuing something, if you're trying to gain some favor, if you're trying to get, whether it's a boss or somebody higher up on the ladder, or supervisor, whatever, or just somebody who embodies what it is and that you want or where it is that you desire to go. At the very beginning of the week, not the best time to approach them or to try to, do whatever to make an impression. And also, don't take anything they do personally as well, because you may not be interpreting the situation correctly as well. But once we get you later in the week, I do think that there are going to be some really lovely developments for you in line with career and bosses, if that's sort of your reality, if that's the game that you play, the field that you play in. Then those areas really, just by surprise, it looks like you're meeting the right people, you're making the right impression. If you have any type of interview situation that you're looking to do, if you will, if you're trying to get an interview or schedule an interview, it is the later part of the week that you want to make that happen for yourself. What I also really like about this week for you is, along with this energy, you're thinking much more lofty, and you're thinking about things like life purpose as well, thinking about where you're going. So there's a very big picture perspective, and at the same time, there is a perspective being granted to you that's saying, okay, now you've got this big picture perspective, now live it, bring it to your day. And with that blend, really, you could find almost magical changes taking place in your life, whether it's in the work environment or whether it's in the way that you live and you go about the business of living and doing your routines. This is a time when you start to understand what you can do to move yourself in a more inspired direction, whether that's wanting to incorporate more love, wanting to incorporate more time with people that you love, that you have in your life right now, whether that's doing something that's more fulfilling, that allows you to feel like you're going in the right direction. All of that is about to get a huge dose of clarity, along with a huge boost right along that path, well along that path in a direction that you like very much. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.